think we are ready to start. While waiting other participants, I will set something about our conference today. So welcome to our QA Spring Fest 2.0 by Grid Dynamics. We are very glad that you have joined us. Today we are waiting for 2 lectures in the field of QA. And now I want that Marika will say something about our company.
Hello, everyone. So as we are waiting for everyone else to join, I will tell you a little bit more about our company because as I know, not everyone know about Grid Dynamics. The Grid Dynamics is a leading provider of technology consulting, engineering, and data science services, Fortune 500 corporation from financial, technological, and retail sector. Our company has been operating since 2006 and is headquartered in California and has development centers in United States, Eastern and Central Europe. So as of today, Grid Dynamics brings together more than 3,500 engineers in 14 different countries. As you can see, we have a large amount of different offices in different countries, and we continue to grow up steadily. So Grid Dynamics is a NASDAQ-listed public technological service company with core expertise in big data, data science, machine learning, and IE, scalable omnichannel services, DevOps, and cloud enablement. Also, you can find more information on our site, griddynamics.com. And to understand who we are working with, you can see the list of our partner and clients in different spheres like tech, finance, retail, and others. More information you can find also on our career side. And if you want, until we're waiting for people to join, you can go by this QR code to our site and search for some career opportunities if you want or read more about our company.
I think I can start to speak about our speakers today. And my name is Silvina, as said Marika, and I will moderate today's meetup. We would like to introduce our speakers today. It will be Mendelenko, QA engineer at Grid Dynamics, with speech about test as text approach in IDEA. And the next speech will be from Bohdan Zherebukh, QA automation engineer at Grid Dynamics, about Playwright with Selenium. During lectures, you can ask questions via Zoom chat. After the report, the speaker will answer them. Please know that the questions will be seen by all participants of the meetup. We will also make a general QA blog after all the lectures where you can use your microphone to ask questions. So, I think we can start. So I will stop my sharing, and Roman, you can start your speech. Microphone is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Roman. I'm automation QA engineer on Grid Dynamics, working here about a year. And basically, I have about 9 years experience and about 5 years in automation. Mostly it's Java, both front end and back end. But my presentation today is not related to language. It's more about test cases. In my presentation, I want to talk about test cases, tell my vision, and also show the plugins that we use in our team. So I had different experience with test cases. I had project where a lot of attention was paid to them, and we spent a lot of time, a day or two, just for writing and reviewing them, because manager had a very strict approach to delivery process and the QA process. Overall, metrics were very important. So how many test cases in total, what percentage of test case coverage, automation percentage, etc. And all of this took a lot of time. Often also in other projects, I met the opposite case. When asked about test cases, testers answered like, we are all professionals here, we seniors, and everyone knows what to do. Test cases, it's a wasting of time, and maybe somewhere there is a doc, but it has not been updated for maybe 5 years, but you can check. But truth is that automators do not like to deal with test cases. This is a routine job for us because we love coding, we love creative work, investigations, etc. And I think that it is two extremes in relation to test documentation, but I think anyway we need it in some way. So let's see why. We want to have a total number of scenarios because not all scenarios can be automated. You need to have a total number of test cases, at least for manual testing. We cannot just keep all the scenarios in our heads. Also, we want to have readable description. It speeds up onboarding for new QAs or maybe for QA from another team. Also, we want to be able to count metrics. It's a total number of test cases, automation coverage, and so on. Prioritize scenarios. One more thing, we want to identify critical scenarios to be covered first, or some minor scenarios that we don't want to automate at all. Also, it's a test run, so it's document what was tested and when we need it for maybe managers to document what was done during the sprint. And one more thing, it's review. So we want to be able to review test cases, correct, and maybe add something. So let's imagine that we don't want to use a full-fledged test management system for some reason. It can be additional costs for project, or maybe we cannot choose because team members likes different test management systems, or maybe we already have some, but we don't like it, like in my situation. In practice, I met several options for organizing test cases without a full-fledged test management system. So let's first look at them and then determine the advantages and disadvantages for every approach. First, it's Google Sheets. It's test cases stored directly in the table. There can be step numbers, steps to reproduce, expected and actual result, actual test case status. Functionality can be divided to tabs in this table. There can also be many columns with different test results. For example, team does regression testing every sprint and documents the results, just adding another column to this list. So maybe main advantage of this approach, I call it speedrun. It allows you to quickly prepare test results if the manager requires it for yesterday, for example. So let's talk about advantages. It's simplicity, because just create new document and begin to fill table. So it's speeding up the process. And here we have readability, availability for everyone just by link. About disadvantages, let's say that it's moved on, because we IT engineers, we not accountants, right? So why we need to deal with tables at all? It's difficult to keep it in order because it can be a lot of copies of same document. It's difficult to review. Actually, you can add some comments in table, but it's not the way. In this case, it's difficult to calculate metrics and create versioning for test cases. Another maybe similar approach, it's a Confluence. When test cases stored in Confluence page on QA docs, here you can store links to tasks, like here some functionality overview. Test cases can be stored in the same way as table with test name, test expectations, some negative, positive flows, and so on. So for advantage, it's now we have test documentation in one page. So it's not only test cases, it's some business flows, user scenarios, and so on. It links to Jira tickets on the same page. It's navigation using a tree, maybe. You can add comments and maybe fix some issues. And also we have readability here. About the disadvantages, it's difficult to find the right page because when you new team member, you need to search through the all Confluence to find QA section, and then this document can be difficult. It's not possible to count metrics in this case and create some versioning. Another approach that I met, it's Jira, when test cases was written directly in the task. It can be QA subtask or parent task, same as developers creating implementation plan. So you can write a testing plan as here just with the test names, or you can even create steps to reproduce expected actual results. It's really up to you. So Jira also speeding up our process. It's just open your task and begin to write, and that's all. It's easy to find these test cases during the sprint. But actually, after the sprint, you need to remember or store somewhere this ticket number, so it can be easy in some cases to find this proper list. Also, here not possible to count metrics, create versioning, or review. Actually, you can review, maybe adding comments, but yeah, it's not our approach. Another one, it's a Cucumber script stored next to the code without step implementation, just scenario. Here we have readable description. You can use tags and test data here, and you can write maybe a few words about overall functionality. For Cucumber advantages, it's Gherkin and BDD, given one then syntax. It's everything in one place. So in same repository where you store when you write in automation scripts, also you can write test scenarios. It's readability, and it's a review. You can review and fix test cases through the pull request. And powerful instrument, it's tags, so can be used in a lot of ways. About disadvantages, also, it's also Gherkin because this forces us to use it even if we don't want it. It's not friendly when we try writing cases for backend or API, etc. It's an additional library. At least you need to add it to your Gradle or Maven, and it's not possible to create test numbering for test cases in this way, and cannot add additional information. So I want to tell you about the plugins that we found and now we're using it, as well as about approach in general. So they call it test as text approach. It's a plugin for IntelliJ IDEA. It's free, and all you need to do is just install it from marketplace in IDEA. tests written in regular MD files, just like regular README file. Various MD syntax supported here. For example, you can highlight text, add code blocks, and even insert images. You can also create test run from a test suite by simply right-clicking. It will be same file, but test case will have a status field where you need to put down pass or fail. So to create a suite, you just need to right-click on folder, select new and test suite. And it will create file with .t.md extension. You can create test run file same way. So here as you see, test run and file with .r.md extension will be created. Main difference that there will be field for status and assignee who can run it and create test documentations in this way. For us, we decided to store test suite right in folder with tests because we have a branch test structure with a lot of modules. So it's easiest way to find file for us. But actually, it's up to you how to organize it because plugin scans all projects from the root folder. So you can create separate folder for tests, for example, somewhere in a root, or even store all test cases in one file. Let's move to main elements. At the top, you can choose the view. It's editor preview or editor preview together. Convenient feature for me is the creation of nested folders. I often miss this in Zephyr or other test management system. So to create subfolder, you just need to type # as shown here, and you can create nesting as many times as you want. Each test must have unique identifier of this kind. So it must begin with the letter C and then some number. So same as in Cucumber, you can add text here, and also you can add meta information. It's any text. It can be a future description, business flow, test data. For example, you can also add metadata in format k-value as here. If we use in this case, like such as automation status, priority, or team, or it can be web UI service and many another things. So on the right is the plugin panel itself. Here is important elements. It's a filter, the button for creating auto tests. You can click on it and empty test will be created with the correct name, and we'll have a link to our test case. And also you can filter tests by text metadata, find tests with or without references in the code. This is how filter looks like. So you can find tests with references in the code, tests that have a tag of specific values such as priority. This will help us to solve just in some way a problem with metrics that we discussed earlier. So you can filter and count number of test cases, for example. So here we can see how to make link to the test from code. It can be just regular command with the K, or you can use TMS link annotation from the Allure library, unless of course you're using it. If you right click on annotation, a preview of the test case will open in the window. It's convenient that you don't need to switch between different windows. So here on the left side, it's an editor, and on the right is a preview. Here we have code blocks. Here we have some description of the user story. As I said, you can store the documentations pages directly here, and also you can even insert images just inside test case. So here how it looks like in Git. So we use an Bitbucket, and as you see, file already formatted there. Even Jira links working here. I don't know exactly how, but it is. So about advantages, it's also easy to use. It's saving our time. It fewer additional tools. Like in Cucumber, it's ability to create pull request for review. I think for manual QAs, it's a good way to learn Git, branching, pull request, and these things. It's links to and from code. It's really useful because you just need to click on a test case to jump to the code, and from code also you can jump to test case. It's a text and metadata. It's powerful instruments, and also like in Cucumber, you have everything in one place, so it's just repository with your tests. About disadvantages, it's a modest functionality, not many integrations for now. For now, it's only TestRail, as I know, but plugin is really new, so waiting for more integrations from them. For me, disadvantage it's because you can write case only like C1, C2, so you cannot use some specific prefix for test case numbering. Also, we need continuous numbering of test cases here. It has minor bugs in UI. As I said, it's new and waiting for fixes. And yes, we need to use IntelliJ IDEA, but as for me, it's more like advantage. This is what I think this process would look like in ideal world. After the planning on stages from analysis to development, we can already create first pull request with test cases and the review and merge it before development. And after development will come second pull request with test case implementations. Here is a common problem we encountered. So because multiple teams working on test cases at the same time, and if two users merging test cases with same IDs, they will get this exception like duplicated test case ID. Need to update branch often and update it right before merge. Or you can use approach that we decided to use. It's a prefix for every team. For example, my team have prefix C102, and then after it comes test case number. Let's sum up. So all this approach will give us a readable description. Also, all will give us speed, except maybe Confluence. As for me, it's a long process to create new page, organize it, and so on. For priorities, yeah, we can use spreadsheet in some way, Cucumber using tags. For Jira and Confluence, I don't think it's applicable. And it can be in plugin. About counting metrics, it's hard in all of these approaches, but in plugin, we can use filter in some way, but yeah, some issues with this filter too. For review, it's easy to review in Cucumber, in plugin, but in Confluence, it's possible with comments on a page. About test runs, we can create it in spreadsheet. We cannot do this in Cucumber, Jira, or Confluence, and we can create test run files, as I said, in plugin, but as for me, it's not really useful there. So basically, that's all from my side. ready to answer to questions.
Thank you, Roman. Can you please open our chat? We have questions to you in
Markdown part is just text that's related to test case method in Java. Yeah, that's true. Which are linked only through the test C number, and you can call methods from Markdown. No, you can't. You can just jump to the code and to the test case using this numbering. No correlation in the text in Markdown in the code in Java, and they can be completely different. Yeah, that's true. As every test case can be different from our implemented automation script. Yeah, it's just responsibility of QA to make this correlation.
Thank you.
About metrics, as I said, it's hard to do here because we can open this filter, find proper test cases, but you need to count these test cases like manually. Just waiting for some feature for counting from developers. About reports, our managers not requires test cases at all. So we decided to create the test cases only for our purposes, for us. So we're not making test reports, just maybe Allure reports in Jenkins. It's all test documentation that we have.
Okay, thank you. And someone else? Do you have questions to our speaker? You can use the microphone to ask the question. I see that everyone are muted, so I think that we can answer other questions after the second speech. And now, thank you. And we will go to the next speech. Please stop sharing. Yeah. Bohdan, your microphone is yours.
Hello, my name is Bohdan. I'm quality assurance engineer. For last 2 years, I'm working as automation quality engineer. So let me share my screen. Today, I want to talk about Playwright and compare it with Selenium. We will also go through some simple thing in automation, and we will see how we can handle them by using Playwright and Selenium. And then we will sum up and I will answer your questions. So let's start. First of all, what is Playwright? Playwright is open source Node.js based framework created by Microsoft by the same team that created Jupyter. Support cross-browser testings and multiple programming languages. So typically, and move on. So first is thing is browser driver. So it's common thing for all automation UA engineers. And yeah, in Playwright, it's some simple thing. Yeah, but in Playwright, we don't need to download it. So like in Selenium, we need to download driver, and the driver needs to support our browser version, etc., etc. In Playwright, we'll do it for you. So how it works, during the initialization of our driver, we have this simple method like Firefox here. So as you may see, this is for Firefox. It's method of the interface. It's called in Selenium some browser type. So yeah, for Firefox, it's called Firefox, WebKit, and Chromium. So yeah, unfortunately, Playwright for now supports only 3 of these browsers. In the recent releases, they said that there is something like they are gonna to support Chrome and Edge, but I don't know how it looks like for now. So yeah, this is the first one. Let's go next. And next, also common things UI automation is interaction with elements. So as you may know, in Selenium, we have just simple find element by ID, XPath, CSS, etc., and then we do some action. In Playwright, we have just so you need how to say it. In Playwright, these two action contains in one that we need, and yeah, like here. So for example, click, and we just add the selector. In this case, is this ID login link. For example, for field, we add the selector and the keys, so the values that we need to fill in. Yeah, so like one step less, but some simple one. Okay, that what is about interaction with elements. Move next, and yeah, also an important thing, this is waiting for elements. So as we may know, sometimes we need to wait until the element will be visible, will be actionable, etc., etc. So in Selenium, we have pretty popular implicit and explicit wait. So implicit driver wait for certain amount of time before throwing no such element exception, and implicit wait, it's like condition or maximum time exceed before throwing element not visible exception. In Playwright, performs a range of actionability checks. So basically, Playwright has automatically wait. It's mean. So for example, let we have to click some button, yeah, and in this command, during performing this action, Playwright, without any additional comments, will ensure that element is visible, element is enabled, this element is attached to the DOM, element is stable, and element receives events, so it's not obscured by other elements. So yeah, for me, this one is pretty nice feature. Okay, so move on, and the other also interesting for me things is video recording. So we can record our test case execution. Also, this is also pretty simple. So as you may see here, when we initialize our session, so browser context, we have new context options where we set the record video direction, and that's all. So we just need to add this new context option, set video record direction, and that's all. We will have all our tests recorded. Also, you can even can set the size of your video. So by default, it's 800 per 800, but you can also manage it. Then also about Selenium, as far as I know and as I remember, Selenium doesn't have it natively. It can be done by some additional libraries and some tools. As far as maybe there is something new, but I don't remember it. Okay, move. Also, very interesting thing is this network. So Playwright provides API which monitor and can modify network traffic, HTTP and HTTPS. So any request that page does, including XHRs and fetch requests, can be tracked, modified, and handled. The same in terms of Selenium, it can be done only by adding some third parties. It doesn't have it natively. So, and about network, let me show you some simple examples. Yeah, here we can see very, very simple sample how we can create mockup. So here we can add our root. It has fulfill options, and here we can modify. We can set status to 200, and we can set some body data, so change it. And in the end, we have mocked requests by pretty simple. Also, we can modify our requests. Here we can see the example how we can abort all images during the loading page. So here we can see that we have resource type equal ignore case. In this case, image types will be ignored, and yeah, our page will be loaded without any images. Yeah, on the official site of Playwright, there are a lot of other samples how we can work with network. Okay, so move on, and yeah, so this is some table where we can compare some, for example, as Selenium is much older than Playwright, and yeah, it supports by more languages than Playwright. Also, the minus for Playwright, it doesn't support so much browsers as Selenium. Operating system pretty the same except Solaris that supports Selenium. Both are open source. And yeah, one thing that you may face when you will work with Playwright, this is support. By the way, they have really nice official site where you can find all documentation that you need, really, from the intro to the some different, I don't know, even to how to create simple API tests and add it to your UI tests. Yeah, but on some community sites, unfortunately, there are not so many info that we have for Selenium. And here is pros and cons for both. So for Selenium, it supports more languages. It can be extended by many third-party tools. It supports more browsers, and it has a big community. For Playwright, it supports Chrome Dev Protocol natively. What we are talking about, this is our network operations. Also, it has automatic waiting, video record of test execution, PDF generation. Also, important things, it supports API tests. In this presentation, I don't mention it because for now it supports only by JavaScript. So yeah, but if you will visit the official site, you might see that there are a lot of documentation, different scenarios, how we can use it and what they have to offer. Yeah, and also Playwright offer mobile emulation. Yep. And to sum up, Playwright is ambition framework. I can say that it becomes really popular. It has still some disadvantages compared to the Selenium because Selenium is much older and has more experience and more things that is better than Playwright. But on the beginnings, Playwright offers really a lot of promising things, and each time it updates them. So during the preparing these presentations, I have several times visited their official site, and each time they add something new. So yeah, okay, briefly, that's all from my side. Thank you for your attention, and maybe you have some questions.
Yes, we have some questions in the chat for you.
Yeah, is it Java? Yes, this is Java. I'm sorry, I didn't mention I'm Java automation engineer. Okay, the next one. Does Playwright works in handless mode and it able to code in video handler? Yes. Actually, by default, when you will initialize the driver, it will work in handless mode. So you just need to turn into false to see your browser. Yeah, and about video recording, I'm not sure. This was also interesting question for me, but I believe that not. So for video recording, I believe that we need to have headless mode off. Yes, Playwright is free to use. The next questions. Okay, it seems like there are much more features in Playwright for JS than in Playwright for Java. Yes, this is true. For JavaScript, it really has more different features, and even I faced it sometimes when on the official site you can choose the language. So this is basically Java, .NET, Node.js, and yeah, and when you open some topic, yeah, for example, API testing, for example, and you looking for something, and then you just want to change the languages to see how it implemented on the other one, and you just see that page doesn't exist for this, like, I don't know, topic or something like that. Yep. So another one, can you compare speed Selenium versus Playwright? I didn't run too big scope of test cases. So in terms of 10 test cases, I didn't see some difference. But in terms of, I don't know, 1,000, I believe, I don't know, but I believe that Playwright will be not so fast as Selenium, because yeah, Selenium is like monopolist. Okay. How page object implemented on Playwright saves as classic sign. Yes, I believe that page object pattern implements pretty much the same. I, to be honest, I didn't try because currently I'm working with JBA. So yeah, but I believe that yes, there was in different on different sites in different texts, there were nothing about that we can't implement. I believe that page object pattern is really popular, and I believe that, yeah. Okay, general QST, are there any cases? Sorry, I didn't catch what you mean, general QST. Sorry. So it's more reasonable to use Playwright with JavaScript and not with Java and Python. I believe that yes. I believe that yeah, JavaScript, it is more reasonable to use it with yeah, Playwright with JavaScript, I believe, yeah. Okay, how about debugging part of framework for Java? I heard that they have pretty good tools for JavaScript version. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe yes, I didn't spot some for it. Yeah, I think so. As I understand, you use Playwright in Java, right? Have you tried using Selenium? So, no, I don't use Playwright in Java. It was like experiment to try use it. So yeah, I work with Selenium, and Playwright, it was just like experiment to try something new to figure out how it works, because as I said, it becomes popular and I heard about it. So yeah, thank you. Are there any cases which Selenium could cover but Playwright can't, and vice versa? Yes, yes. For example, if you are talking, if talking in general, so some cases, for example, the same network or API, Playwright can do it natively. In Selenium, you need to add some external libraries, some tools, etc., to do the same. If you mean about this one, then yes. But if you mean about absolutely value that you can do it in Playwright, but you can't do it in any ways on Selenium and vice versa, I don't know, to be honest. I know that API, for example, if the same API testing is, as far as I know, I can be mistaken, but API testing is impossible in Selenium. This might be an answer on your questions. Yes, Playwright can record video in. Oh, thank you, Victor, for answering that. Playwright can record video in handless mode. Multi-threading, yep. Playwright for JS can run multiple workers out of the box. Yeah. Would you use Playwright instead of REST assured for API tests? No. REST assured, the same as Selenium, is much more older, and of course it can afford much more than Playwright on this time. So I believe that it is better to use actually REST assured for testing the API, and a lot of teams, as I know, have a difference between API and UI and try to not merge them. Okay, what about integration with reports in the Playwright? Is this easier than in Selenium? I believe no. I believe that that it's pretty the same. So if you will use some, I mean about some reports like Allure, for example, then I believe that no, they have the same implementation. I think all the Playwright pros we can see in the Selenium. Yeah, you may be right. I can tell it for 100% because I'm not too much familiar with Selenium, so sorry. Playwright has embedded reporter, which is amazing as on OOTB reporter. Oh, it's very nice. Thank you that you mentioned it. Sorry, about reporters. This is I really I forgot about this. Also, one important things in automation and also in testing that could be interesting for all. Okay, so this is all questions.
So questions in chat. Thank you, Bohdan. Maybe someone have questions to ask using the microphone. You can use it and ask the question. Bohdan and Roman, the first speaker too, you can ask now all questions that you have. Okay, and I think that we have no questions for now. We said that we will share the link to our website. And thank you for joining us. It was a good meetup. So thank you, our speakers, and good evening, everyone.